Hello friends, welcome to the channel. I am Rohit. Hope you are doing good. Friends, in today's video we are going to talk about configuring FTP server in Cisco Packet Tracer with DNS. So in today's video we will understand what is FTP, then we will go through the fundamentals of FTP, and at the end of video I will make you aware about what various commands are available to interact with FTP server for managing our files. So friends, while configuring the FTP server, we are going to use DNS over here, which will resolve our FTP server name, or which will map our FTP server name to its IP address. So we may create FTP server like example.com or any other domain name we may prefer. So DNS will be there for mapping such domain name to our FTP server address. We may configure FTP server without DNS as well, but in this video we will try to configure FTP server with DNS. So now let's start the video, friends, by understanding what is FTP. So FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol. So this is the standard network protocol, and this protocol is used for transferring files between client and server over the network or over the global network like internet. Now friends, let's try to understand primary functions of FTP one by one. So first function is exchanging files with remote server, uploading files on remote server, downloading files from remote server, deleting files on remote server, and performing file manipulations on a remote server. These are key functions that FTP protocol provides to a user. Friends, in the real-time application or scenario, FTP is used for uploading files, downloading files to a web server regarding website or web application. So whichever hosting platforms are available, all platforms having support for FTP protocol. So we may use any popular FTP client, or we may use any popular FTP solution for interacting with a web server. So in this interaction, first of all we need to establish a connection from FTP client, then next to that file can be transferred, and to establish a connection it uses a authentication method like username and password. So FTP is using two different ports for exchanging files. So first port is port number 21. So this port is reserved for transferring control commands and responses, and second port is port number 20. So this is used for actual data transfer. So there are two parallel connections with which FTP protocol is working. So one connection is dedicatedly used for transferring commands between FTP client and FTP server, and another connection is used for transferring data between FTP client and FTP server. So friends, wherever we require to transfer files between client and server, we may use FTP. Apart from that, it may use for maintaining websites, it may use for software distributions, etc. So this is basically the FTP protocol. Now we will move further and we will try to understand fundamentals of FTP. So in fundamentals, first concept we have client server architecture. So FTP protocol is operating with client server architecture, where there will be a client machine which needs certain resources from FTP server. So on client machine we will have a FTP client software which will use for communicating with the FTP server, and this client software will be responsible for establishing connection with the FTP server. So second fundamental concept we have connection establishment and data transfer. So once the connection is established with proper authentication, like whatever username and password is expected. So next to that, files can be exchanged between FTP client and FTP server. Next to that, we have security considerations. FTP transfer all data between FTP client and server in clear text format, including our username and password. So friends, whenever we are supposed to transfer certain sensitive, confidential, important data, then we supposed to avoid using FTP because there is a chance that it may get intercepted by the malicious users. Now, what is solution for that? So there are various solutions available which will provide more secure communication between FTP client and FTP server. So to address these security issues, we have first solution FTPS. It stands for FTP Secure. So this is basically seen as an extension to the FTP. So as we discuss in FTP, there is no any security provision for encryption of data because all things it is transmitting in clear text format. So in FTPS, it is adding secure socket layer or transport layer security for encrypting and protecting the data during communication. So as we discuss, FTP operates in two parallel channels or connections. So data connection and control connection. So both channels are encrypted in the FTPS. That's why it is ensuring the confidentiality. Another solution we have SFTP. It stands for SSH File Transfer Protocol. SSH stands for Secure Shell. So SFTP cannot be seen as an extension to the FTP, but it is a separate or independent protocol. So it operates with the SSH, that is Secure Shell connection, for providing secure file transfer between FTP client and server. Now next fundamental we will try to see security enhancements in FTP usage. So the organizations which need to transfer certain confidential data, important data, they should go for FTPS or SFTP instead of FTP. So this FTPS or SFTP provides encrypted transmission. They protect the sensitive user credentials like username, passwords, and also provide protection for their contents from unauthorized access. So these are various fundamentals of FTP. Now in summary, we can say FTP is a widely used protocol which is used for exchanging files between client and server, but there is a serious security issue, and that is it is not encrypting our data while it is getting transmitted between FTP client and server. So as a solution we have seen, we should go with FTPS or SFTP, so which will provide the confidentiality and which will protect the user credentials and provide the encrypted transmission. So for basic file transmission, we can prefer FTP. Now friends, we are reaching to the end of theoretical discussion. So here we will try to go through few commands of FTP, so which we are going to use in our practical demonstration. So first command we have get, and its syntax you can see get file name. So it is used for downloading files from a remote server. Next command we have put, and its syntax is put file name. So whichever file we want to upload to a remote server, we can upload it with help of put command. Next command we have delete command. So this is used for deleting files from a remote server. Syntax is like delete and file name. The next command we have dir command. So this command is used for enlisting the files which are available on a web server. Syntax is like this, dir. Next command we have pwd, that is print working directory. So it will print the current working directory. Next command we have rename command, so which is used for renaming files. So we have to provide the old file name and new file name. So last command we have quit command, so which will be used for tearing down the connection with the FTP server. So now friends, this is how we have understood now what is FTP. Now I will take you to the packet tracer, and here we will try to configure now FTP server. So first of all, here I am going to place a generic server. There will be another generic server for DNS. Now we will use one switch over here. Now next to this we will add two hosts within this scenario. Now friends, all components we have added. Now let's try to connect them. So first of all, we will connect host with the switch. Now we will connect switch with the server like this. Now friends, the network scenario is ready. Now let's try to put some nodes over here which will give more details about this scenario. So friends, this is our FTP server, and let's assume name for our FTP server is example.com, or any other name you may prefer over there. And let's try to assume IP for our FTP server 192.168.10.10. Now next to that there is an interface which is connecting this server with the switch. So for this interface, let's assume IP 192.168.10.20. So this is basically the default gateway. I will write here default gateway. Okay. Now next to that, here we have a DNS server. So here I will put DNS server. Now this DNS server will map our domain name request like example.com to its IP address 192.168.10.10. So let's assume IP for this DNS server 192.168.10.30. Now this server is also having one interface. So here we will write default gateway for this server, default gateway. So let's assume 192.168.10.40. Okay, now for this first machine we will assume IP 192.168.10.5, and for this 192.168.10.6. Now friends, this is how all details we have placed. Now next to this, we will configure now our FTP server first of all. So here we will go to a server, then desktop, and in IP configuration now we will put the details. So IP address is 192.168.10.10. Subnet mask we are getting. Now default gateway as we have decided 192.168.10.20. Now DNS server address we have. So our DNS server is having this address. So 192.168.10.30. Like this we have entered all these IP configuration details. Now as it is FTP server, so we need to see the FTP service on this. So here we are in the service tab, and here we will look for FTP. So you can see FTP, click on FTP. Now friends, this is the panel for configuration of FTP service on this server. So right now you can see there is a default user available with Cisco as a username and Cisco as a password. So as we discussed in the theoretical part, it needs username and password for authentication purpose. So let's try to add one new user over here. So again I will click on FTP. Now let's put one username here. I am going to put, let's say, user1, and password is also user1, and we will give all permission to it: read, write, delete, rename, list, all these permissions, and click on add. Now friends, you can see the user is added. Click on save now. So right now these are the various files that are present on this FTP server. So we will see how to look into these files. So this is how, friends, we have configured the FTP server. Make sure FTP server is on. Okay, now this is how the configuration of FTP server is completed. Now we will go to a DNS server. So first of all, we will go to the IP configuration of DNS server. So let's put IP 192.168.10.30. Default subnet mask we got. Now default gateway, so 192.168.10.40 as we decided over here. Now DNS server address 192.168.10.30. So this is how the IP configuration we have entered for our DNS server. Now let's try to configure now DNS service. So for that we are in the services tab. Now look for DNS service. Here it is. Now right now it is off. Turn it on. Now which domain name we have to resolve? So example.com. So example.com. And now put the IP address of that server. So 192.168.10.10. And click on add. You can see now a record is added. Click on save. So this is how we have configured a DNS server. So whenever there will be a request for example.com domain name, it will come to a DNS server. Then DNS server will resolve this DNS query. So it will map this example.com to 192.168.10.10, and request will be forwarded to this IP address. So this is basically the job of DNS in our scenario. Now we will configure the first host. So we'll go to desktop, put the IP 192.168.10.5. We got the subnet mask. Now put the default gateway. So all requests from this both client should be coming to this DNS server for resolving our example.com domain name. That's why default gateway will be 192.168.10.40, and our DNS server address 192.168.10.30. So friends, this is how the first host we have configured. Now we will configure the second host. So for that 192.168.10.6 is IP address. Default gateway will be same again. This one 192.168.10.40, and DNS server address 192.168.10.30. So this is how the second host is also configured. Now friends, here our network scenario is ready to simulate with all detailed configurations. Now friends, let's try to establish connection with a FTP server from this host. So for that we will go to a command prompt, and here we are going to use a command FTP, and now we have FTP server name with us example.com. hit enter. Now it is trying to establish a connection. You can see now it is asking for a username. So we have two users right now on FTP server. One is Cisco, which is by default, and one user we have created, that is user1. So I'm going to use here user1 as a username. Hit enter. Now it is asking for a password. So we will enter password user1. Now friends, here password is not getting echo. That's why it is not visible, but it is getting typed. So after typing, hit enter. Now you can see login is successful and we got the FTP prompt. Now whatever commands we have discussed friends, all that commands we may perform over here now. So for example, I am going to first of all list out the files. Let's see which files are available. So you can see now right now 32 files are available on FTP server. All these are the files which are available. Now let's try to create one file and we will try to upload that file on FTP server. Okay. So for that I will close this and we will go to the text editor, and here I am going to create one sample file. This is sample file. Okay. And we will save this file. Let's say my sample file dot text. Hit enter. Now to check whether this file got saved or not, click on open. From file menu you can see your file is here, my sample file. Now this file we will try to upload to FTP server. So for that, here we are going to use a put command. So put and my sample file dot text. So hit enter. Now you can see transfer complete and 20 bytes copied. Now let's try to see whether that file got uploaded or not. So again I am going to use dir command. So here you can see now there are total 33 files. Here it is our file, my sample file, which is uploaded on FTP server. Now friends, let's try to download file from FTP server. So for that we will use now servers window. We will go to desktop and here we will create one file. So let's say this is server file. Okay, and we will save this file. So let's say my server file dot text. Now let's check whether this file got created or not. So here you can see file is created, my server file dot text. Now we will upload this file on FTP. So for that again we will go to command prompt. Here we will try to establish connection to a FTP server. So we will write FTP and our server name is example.com. So our username is user1, password is same. Now here we will upload that file, put my server file dot text. Hit enter. You can see transfer completed. Now file got uploaded. Let's try to see. Now here you can see my server file is available. Let's try to download that file on our client now. So this is servers window. Now we will come to client again, and here to get that file or to download that file we have get command. So get, and our file name is my server file dot text. Hit enter. There might be certain spelling mistake. Okay, so here it is a spelling mistake. So again I will type get my server file dot text. Hit enter. You can see file got downloaded. Now how we will view that file? So we will go to a text editor, click on open. Now here you can see my server file. So we will open that file. You can see now this is a server file which we have created over here. Okay, so this is how uploading and downloading we may perform on FTP server. Now let's try to rename our file. So again here we will use dir command for example. Now let's try to rename this sample file to something else. So we will give command rename and current file name is my sample file dot text and new file name, let's say demo file dot text. Hit enter. Now you can see the renaming successfully completed. Now let's try to dir again. Now you can see our file is located over here, demo file. Okay, so this is how we have a rename file. Now let's try to delete this file. So for that we will write delete and our file name is demo file dot text and hit enter. You can see file got deleted. Now let's try to use dir command again. So you can see file got deleted. So this is how we have performed various basic operations with FTP server like uploading files, deleting files, renaming files, downloading files, etc. So friends, to close this connection now, we will use the quit command. So hit enter. You can see service got closed over here. This is how basic FTP server we have configured. So friends, this is what we have in today's video. If you find this video useful, please like and share this video. If you are visiting this channel first time, please subscribe this channel and hit the bell icon. So whenever we will upload new video, you will get the notification about same. So thank you so much friends for watching this video. I will see you in next video.